It's a time of year that a lot of leaders are saying to me right now, Dennis, I think I want to move on to another role. Dennis, I think it's time for me to leave the organization that I'm at and go and do something else. For some of you, you're thinking about it right now. You're tired. It's been a big year for you. But is it the right thing for you to do, go off and do something else? The thing here is this. Let's talk about it. Let's think about what is the right thing for you to do. Let's discuss.
Welcome to Leadership is Changing. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change. This is taking your leadership to another level by finding the balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing with your host, Denis Giannoutsas.
Hey there, listeners. Welcome to the Ask Denis episode. This is a freestyle episode where I'm asked a question by our listeners, or I share my thoughts and experiences and insights from working with many leaders around the globe. Hey, it's always great to be with you, and this is a session whereby I want to actually talk about what you're thinking at the moment, because for a lot of you, you are actually thinking about, do I want to be in the organization I'm in today? Is it time for me to move on? And boy, I am really tired, and I've had a big year, and I really wanted to take a break. My very first thing I would say to you all is, why don't you take a break? Make sure you do take a decent break as the year comes to an end. Too many leaders don't take time out enough. And if they do, they go on 1 week or 2 weeks leave, and so what? We know that they're always reaching for the phone, checking their emails, jumping on a conference call, answering the phone calls, and they're not really getting a decent break. So if you are able to have a decent break at the end of this year, as we go into the year ending and, of course, the new year starting, if you can take a couple of weeks or even longer. I don't know, in the Southern Hemisphere, they're taking time out because it's their summer holidays. And so a lot of people are taking off from sort of like towards the end of December, right around Christmas time, right through to probably mid-January for some people. And what a wonderful time to just disconnect from emails, disconnect from the phone, and be present with family and friends and partners, and just enjoy some time out. But while you're enjoying that time out, it's time for you to think about where you may want to go in the new year. Set some goals, but also get clarity around where you're wanting to go. Because I think for some of you, it's probably not a good thing for you to want to change. You're tired and you think you want to change, but you're not sure. There's nothing worse than someone going and changing roles and going off to do something and actually jumping into it to realize just a few weeks later that it's the wrong move. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be proactive, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't go ahead and do things, because for some of you, it's going to be risky, and that's a cool thing. But that's okay, because it's calculated risk. But the thing here is, let's get a little bit smarter about actually moving on to do something else and getting very clear about where you're wanting to go. So I think for some of you, it's actually getting that 2 to 5 year understanding of where you want to be in 2 years and 5 years from now. Because the next role, or two roles, who cares what it's going to be? What's important is for you to understand where you're going. The next role, or maybe even a business, are going to be the stepping stones to help you get to where you want to be in 2 years and 5 years from now. But if you get clarity around, that's actually going to help you understand where or what you're wanting to do. The second thing is, let's say, as an example, you're wanting to go off and do a bigger role. In other words, you're going to do something maybe similar to what you're doing, but it's a scale thing. You're going to go and work or do a business or for an organization that's a lot larger. So as you do that, you'll need to understand what the role that you're going to, the job description, what's expected from the role, KPIs and things like that. That's what I call the desired state. In other words, where you're wanting to end up. The other thing we need to look at is your current reality or current state. In other words, where you are today. The difference from where you are today and where you're wanting to go, that's going to actually probably identify some gaps that you may have. And it's okay to have the gaps. What's not okay is to do nothing about the gaps. So what we want you to do is then to start thinking about how to close those gaps. And then that will help determine what your action plan is going to be to enable you to close those gaps. And so the thing here is, number one, understand where you're wanting to go 2 years, 5 years from now, and having clarity around that. And then number two is actually, and the kind of role you want. And then number two is, once you do know that, it's then about the desired state versus current reality versus the gaps versus the action plan to close those gaps. The other area I think you need to think about is your network. For some of you, you are trying to build a network too late. I think you need to build a network before you need it. Now, when I say network, building relationships with people, getting to know people in the market, but it's about building relationships with people in your organization, outside of your organization, inside your industry, and outside your industry as well. The important thing here would be for you to go and actually build relationships. Whether it be down for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years down the track, it doesn't matter. But get out there and start building those relationships. Now, for a lot of you, you're trying to go and build a relationship because you want to get something out of it straight away. Doesn't always work. And the beautiful thing is that you need to start building it. Whether it's actually on LinkedIn. Oh, by the way, people say to me, do I need to have a LinkedIn account or profile, Dennis? Do you really want to have a good career? Because I think that as a leader, you need to have that digital footprint. You also need to have a decent LinkedIn profile, one that you're active with. Why? Because people will go and Google you and your name, and they want to know who you are and the network you have. And so one of the very first things that come up onto Google is your LinkedIn profile. That's your shop front. And if your LinkedIn profile is weak, if your LinkedIn profile is not showing who you actually are, then it's not going to send a very good message. So my key thing I would say to you around networking, is build a LinkedIn profile, get active in the digital world. The next thing is go out there and actually meet people, approach them on LinkedIn, if you can, if they're in the same city as you, to take them online to offline, so you can go and have a coffee with them, build a relationship, get to know them, and so forth. The other thing here I would say to you is this. If you're going to apply for roles, do it in person if you can. But if you're going to apply for a role online, because there's online systems and things like that, that's good, that's okay. But don't sit there with your arms folded looking at your inbox expecting to get a response within 5 minutes. Did I get the job? Because you'll be disappointed. Because I think the thing here is this, that a lot of people think that they can apply for a role and they'll get the job. It doesn't work that way. You need to go and build relationships with people. You need to go and talk to people and get them to understand who you are. So even if you're going to apply for the role, go to LinkedIn, look at the company and see who you know there, or who do you know that knows people there. Because your network is one thing, but it's their network that's even stronger. And so that's why you build a network, to understand people that we know, that things get done because of people you know. Really important for you to build a network and do that. With recruiters, go and build a relationship with them. For a lot of them, they're going to say, oh, thanks for coming in. We've got your resume. It's on the database. Just keep an eye on our website. If you see a role, apply for it and let us know. You want to be top of mind for them. You want to be able to build a relationship with them all the time. And I think it's really important for you to do that. Recruiters don't work for you. Recruiters work for the vendor, work for the person that's hiring. That's who they work for. But there's a really important thing is that if you can build relationships with the recruiters, they then in turn will actually look after you too. You know what? I think the important thing here is that you understanding where you're wanting to go, put in the things that you need to put in place, even if you need to put in a development plan, and even if it's going to take you 6 months, 12 months, whatever it is, and whether it's 6 days. The important thing is for you to get clarity of where you're going, understanding what you need to do to close your gaps in the development area, and then you need to go out and meet recruiters, I should say, network with people in the industry and outside the industry, and make sure you've got your LinkedIn profile working and humming along. There you go, listeners. That's it for this episode. It's always a pleasure being with you. Thanks for joining me on the Leadership is Changing podcast. Until next time, bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Leadership is Changing with your host, Denis Giannoutsas. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change, inspiring executives and leaders to adapt and lead a bigger game in a fast-moving world.